Okay, check this out. This is the BMW M4 XDrive Competition, or Competition XDrive. And today I'm going to show you why I think this is the best M4 you can buy for the money. So, let's start. Now, the first thing you need to know is that there's no actual way of telling that this is an XDrive just by looking at it. If you want to know if it's a M4 Competition or just a standard one, well, there's this letter over here that says M4 Competition. It's the same thing in the front. You're always going to find it under that M4 logo or badge. But there are some ways to actually tell that this is an M4 XDrive Competition. Let me show you the first one. The first way to tell that this is an XDrive is by looking at the side panel on this area, where you can look at the tire pressure, the size of your tire and the wheel and so on. And if you look at this little thing here, the warning, that tells you that you can only tow this with a flatbed truck. Yeah, you can tow it with the front towing like you'd find with most cars. In the standards M4 Competition rear-wheel drive, this is not here. It's actually in the owner's manual. We reached out to someone that actually has an M4 Competition rear-wheel drive, and on the side, it doesn't actually show that. So that's one way to find out if this is actually an XDrive M4 Competition. The next way to find out whether this is an XDrive or not is by going into the actual menu. So we're going to press the setup button over here. And the first thing that pops out is the customization of the engine, the chassis, steering, and brakes. And in here, it will tell you four-wheel drive sport, or two-wheel drive. And the only way to do that, I've customized it with the red buttons, and then you can switch into that, and you press setup, and now I can switch between four-wheel drive sport, and two-wheel drive. We're going to talk about that in a minute, why this thing is so amazing. You're probably thinking, well, Sam, I actually don't need an XDrive. I don't live in a really cold country like Canada, for example. It rarely snows. I don't really care about that. That's a very good point. But you see, XDrive, it's not just about situations where you get stuck. It's not just about weather. It's also about traction, and it's also about launching this thing, because compared to the rear-wheel drive, in my opinion, this thing is quite amazing. And let's not forget something that I just showed you previously, is the fact that you don't have to have this in four-wheel drive the entire time. You don't have to do that at all. You can just switch into rear-wheel drive and you're good to go. See, the beautiful thing with the XDrive that it's able to shift the power from the rear wheels to the front. If you put it into four-wheel sport, it's mostly to the rear wheel tires, so you can still have fun. It actually has a drift analyzer. If you're obsessed with drifting this thing, if you want to have some fun on those tight corners, you can do that. And that's the beautiful thing about the M4 Competition XDrive. Now, let's talk about the pricing, because you're probably wondering, how much more expensive is the XDrive? Well, the difference is that in Canada, we're very much in luck in this, because I'm assuming a lot of Canadians are going to buy the XDrive. The difference is only $2,500 Canadian, which is actually not that bad. And the beautiful thing is that you can switch in two-wheel drive anytime you want. Now, for the US buyers, things get a bit more complicated than that. You see, the price difference is $4,000 USD, which would be about $5,000 to $6,000 Canadians. Now, that is pretty expensive, I have to say, unless you really want the XDrive. And the reason why that is because, see, in the US, most buyers will buy just the standard rear-wheel drive because they don't actually live in very cold areas where it snows a lot, so they don't actually need the XDrive. And that's probably why you're going to pay more in the US. But if you ask me, is the XDrive worth it over the rear-wheel drive? For the $4,000 USD, I'd say yes, because it's not just about snow, it's always about traction. You have the option to have it in two-wheel drive, and most importantly, you can have so much fun launching the all-wheel drive BMW M4 Competition in comparison to the two-wheel drive. I've had the opportunity to drive the standard rear-wheel drive, and it's fun, but in my opinion, the XDrive just wins by a lot. The great news is that last night it snowed in Toronto quite a lot, and even though this area looks clean, over onto that side we have quite a lot of snow. And I want to show you the difference between a rear-wheel drive M4 Competition to the XDrive in snow, because I did a few tests, and I'll tell you that because this car is so low to the ground, you're always going to have trouble in snow. And when you have XDrive, the difference is quite noticeable. So let's do the first test. I'm gonna drive the car into that area where we have snow to show you exactly how important the XDrive is in some areas. Here's one example. First, I'm stuck here. I can't move. I'm just gonna burn tires if I keep doing that. I've tried it. You can't move. I'm stuck right now. If you come closer, there's not much actual snow here. If you look close to the bottom, like probably any car could do that, but because it's technically two-wheel drive right now, I have no way to come out, so I'm literally stuck. So what do? Well, I can quickly switch in to four-wheel drive and watch what happens. It's that simple. So let's go for a drive and let's talk about this thing. So first of all, let's do two-wheel drive. If you look at the screen over here, I can change that anytime I want. So right now I have it in two-wheel drive. There's a lot of snow on the road, and we're gonna do a quick test. Which one gives you better stability? I'm just spinning. There was no movement. There was no move. This is just, there's literally no, you try to push it, it just spins. That's in two-wheel drive. Now that's with traction off. You can also change the traction. We have the gear levels all the way to the third one, but you can also change the traction over here. You can put it all the way to the highest level, and you're constantly just drifting. It's a lot of fun, but in certain areas, there's not much snow in the road, but you're gonna have a lot of fun basically. You just gotta be careful you don't crash into anyone. The traction control in this car, it's so good. It's so much fun. It doesn't move as fast. Like if you push it, it's just like spinning. Now let's do to set up, and let's do four-wheel drive. Now that should, oh my God, the difference. The difference in four-wheel drive is literally day and night. Like I'm pushing it, same level of snow, the car is doing fantastic. It's keeping you perfectly on the roads, no slipping, nothing. That's the difference of that XDrive in my opinion. Now if you live in a warm weather, you're never gonna go through this. Maybe some rainy day or icy day, but most of the time you're not gonna deal with this. But us that live up north, like for at least 3 to 4 months, you're getting snow constantly. You want to go to your cottage, you want that four-wheel drive in your vehicle. This thing, it's fantastic. I have it in M2, which is sport mode, everything, and sport plus engine, and it's handling well. Now we're going into a dipper area here. I want to do, it's kind of like an uphill. Let's see how this two-wheel drive is going to do around here. Okay, not bad. We have winter tires, by the way, so that's not an issue in terms of the tires. That's never going to be an issue because this thing is all around, and these are staggered, so we have 20-inch wheels in the back, 19-inch in the front. Now we're going a bit of uphill over there, and I want to see how capable this thing is. Spinning. Good thing we have the Defender today, right, Richard? Yeah. Uphill. Not bad. Okay, it's struggling, but it's struggling. That's for sure. Like there's not much snow, but there's not grip. That's the problem. And then you switch into four-wheel, and as if nothing happened. This is the beautiful thing about XDrive. You have the option. If I had to buy whether an M3 or an M4, for me, this would be the perfect example. This would be the one that I would get, the XDrive, because BMW made sure that you can still have fun and still have control over your vehicle and still enjoy in different weathers. And the fact that in Canada this is $2,500, in my opinion, this makes a huge difference for anyone, because if it was like $10,000 to $15,000 more, or even $7,000, I would reconsider it. But the fact that that difference between the US and Canada just shows you that there is a demand from the Canadian market for the XDrive.